Welcome to Road to Recovery.
Hello and welcome to Road to Recovery, Advocacy and Insights for Trucking Accidents with Sagi Shaked. Sagi is founder of Shaked Law Personal Injury Lawyers and is ranked as one of the top 100 trial lawyers in the United States by the American Trial Lawyers Association. In this episode, we're going to tackle a curveball scenario. What happens when the trucking company files for bankruptcy before your personal injury case reaches trial? Sagi, welcome back.
Thank you, Kevin.
So this is different. We haven't talked about something like this yet. I honestly didn't even think about this, but it's a valid question. What does it mean when a trucking company files for bankruptcy during a personal injury lawsuit?
First of all, for most people know what bankruptcy is. So when a company files for bankruptcy, you really have to identify, is it a liquidation bankruptcy or is it a reorganization bankruptcy? And I'm no bankruptcy guru by any means, but unfortunately, I've had cases in the past where companies have filed for bankruptcy. Does that mean the case is over? No, it happens. There's whether it's a mismanagement of funds or a liquidation or reorganization, you get the bankruptcy. And so when a company files for bankruptcy, if you're in what they call the pre-suit stage or in the litigation stage, there's going to be what they call a stay, which means a stop of working on the case because there was something filed in the bankruptcy court, which is usually in federal court in a separate division, in the bankruptcy division.
Okay. And how does it affect an ongoing case versus one that hasn't been filed yet? Is there a difference?
Probably no difference other than, immediately what will happen is if you're in pre-suit, which is before the litigation, you'll get a letter that the company has filed bankruptcy, and here is the case number and everything. And then if you're in litigation, they'll file a motion to stay the case because of the bankruptcy. You can't do any more work. It's a bankruptcy, so now what do you do, right? So those are things that it's going to happen while you're in those two stages. It's kind of the same, but it's going to happen.
Are companies still required to carry insurance that covers victims even if they go to bankruptcy?
So if there was insurance at the time of the crash, then you're going to be covered. So if the crash happened on June 1st, right? Let's use that for example, and the bankruptcy occurs on July 1st. So again, crash on June 1st, bankruptcy on July 1st. Then what will happen is that insurance policy will cover even if the trucking company goes under and has filed bankruptcy. So now, if a trucking company files for bankruptcy, they can still purchase insurance. Obviously, if it's if they're being liquidated because they don't have money to pay anybody, they're not going to purchase insurance. But if it's what they call reorganization, you start hearing that term a little bit, they still have money. They're just trying to get rid of some bad debt. And again, I'm no bankruptcy guru, but so they still purchase insurance because they need to still drive and, haul stuff.
Okay. Interesting. Yeah, such a unique situation. Who pays the settlement or judgment if the company is determined to be insolvent?
Yeah, so that's a good one. So yeah, I learned the hard way about 20 plus years ago. Here's what happens. So you file your lawsuit or you're in pre-suit. They file that motion to stay the proceedings. We don't have any money. Don't give up. There is a way around it. And so, especially if you have an insurance policy, right? So if there's an insurance policy, what you can do is you go into the bankruptcy court and you file a motion with the bankruptcy court and say, look, I don't want any part of this bankruptcy. I'm looking to solely collect from the insurance policy. And then the bankruptcy court will give you an order that you can do that. You then take that order, you go into your case, which is not in the bankruptcy court, and you lift that stay that was filed, and then you have a case against the trucking company continue, and you're limited to the amount of the insurance proceeds. So you're not going to get any more money because sometimes you have cases where a trucking company has $1 million in insurance and you have a $5 million injury case. You can go get your verdict on your $5 million, but you may not collect the $5 million. You'll collect that $1 million insurance policy, but the rest of that will go into the bankruptcy court. If you didn't elect to, make a claim, you're not going to have that. But if you elected to make a claim, you can put it into the bankruptcy court, and you may see money, but most likely you won't see money. If you do see money, it'll probably be, you know, pennies on the dollar. Pennies is being generous. It depends on, again, what kind of bankruptcy they're in. Was it a reorganization or is it a liquidation?
And I suppose it depends on how bad how much they owe, like how underwater they are, right?
Yeah, I mean, again, it happens every single day. There's companies going bankrupt. Some are more in debt than others, and some are not. So it really depends on, just like you said, how in debt are they?
So you mentioned bankruptcy court. Does it play a larger role in whether a claim can move forward, or is it just about whether or not you're going to go after the bankruptcy portion or just the insurance?
Yeah, it definitely. So the bankruptcy court definitely plays a role. You need to file your motion immediately in the bankruptcy court to lift the stay and continue the litigation, and then specifically address the issues that the insurance policy is in place. The insurance policy has nothing to do with the bankruptcy. Creditors under the bankruptcy can touch the insurance policy if they weren't injured in the accident. Only your client was injured. So they have a right to proceed under that policy. So you file that motion, get it immediately heard, get out of the bankruptcy court, go get that lift stayed, and then just continue fighting on your case. And that's usually the process. It can take a month or two to get done, but it's not the end of the world. It's not the best, but it's not the end of the world if that happens, especially if you have an insurance policy.
Yeah, but to your point earlier, it's interesting. Like if the policy is only for a certain amount, it's hard to sue for more. If it's a really, really, horrible crash with lots of injuries and lots of money lost, it kind of puts you in a tough spot, I'd imagine.
It does. I mean, that's why you really have to kind of think outside the box. Don't just be limited to the trucking company, because it'll be rare that you'll have the trucking company, the shipper, the broker, the freight forwarder, the logistics company, the parent company, the company that did the maintenance on the truck. Then they're all going to go bankrupt at the same time. You're talking about a lot of companies.
Yeah.
So you can't just think about the one specific truck. Think about the other parties that can play a role or played a role in causing this crash, whether it's a broker who put a trucking company that really should have never been hauling any type of property or cargo because they had such a bad safety rating, or the shippers. Maybe they improperly loaded the truck, or you have the maintenance company who didn't pay, proper maintenance to the truck. And like we spoke about earlier, you had a wheel fall off or fly off a truck. There's different things to think about when you have a truck. It's not a regular car crash case, and don't treat it like a regular car crash case.
Yeah, we did talk about that, about all the different parties that can be involved. So if how does it generally work? If is it you file a lawsuit, you're in the middle of all this, and all of a sudden you get notice that the company's filing for bankruptcy? Is that kind of what happens?
Yeah, you'll get a motion to stay the proceeding or a notice of bankruptcy. And the first time I got it 20 plus years ago, I'm like, what do I do? And I didn't know what to do. I'm like, I never faced the bankruptcy before. You hear about bankruptcy on the news, but you don't really know anything about it. And luckily, I had a couple of mentors who walked me through it, and I was able to get out of the stigma of the bankruptcy, make sure the client didn't panic, and explain the process. And then, went forward, filed the motion in the bankruptcy court. Actually, the first time we did it, we hired a bankruptcy attorney to file the motion for us, so we don't have to be in the bankruptcy. They filed the motion, they got us out. So it'll cost you a little bit of money. And then you come back into your case and you show the judge, hey, we're just going after the insurance, and you move forward with your case.
Yeah, it's interesting. I don't want to get too far off topic, but how important was it for you to have mentors like that could help you through times when you were like, whoa, this is new?
Yeah. Having a mentor, I think, is super important. Even having a coach is super important. Think about all the successful people that you see, whether it's in sports or in business. you still have, Tom Brady, considered one of the greatest quarterbacks ever, right? I like him, but he beat the Dolphins way too many times, and I'm a Dolphins fan.
Well, he
Um,
beat everybody way too many times, so
yeah,
don't
yeah,
don't take
20
it too
years
hard.
of torture down here.
Yeah.
So, long story short, he has a coach, right? And
Right.
you have and lawyers, especially younger lawyers, should have someone that they can have mentor them and teach them, because we do, there are mistakes you can make down the, when you're litigating, and you don't want to make those mistakes because they can be malpractice, they can be bad for your client. So choose someone who can help you, who you can learn from at the same time, and you can become a better lawyer and a better advocate for your clients. So mentors extremely important for me, growing up as a younger lawyer and now as a more seasoned veteran, I guess you can call it.
Seasoned vet. That's right. That's what you are. All right, back to bankruptcy. So you said that so you get the motion to stay, or the notice of bankruptcy. So what is your next move? How do you plan out your case, knowing that this company is going through a bankruptcy process or about to?
So yeah, I mean, the problem when you have the bankruptcy is, yes, you can go after the insurance limits, and then you become kind of limited to the amount of insurance, and it really does, I guess, suck is the word, when
Hmm.
your client has significant injuries, because you can't really get them the justice they deserve. I see this a lot of times. You see this in car crash cases where someone has these horrific injuries, where you have someone's family member passed away in a crash, and the at fault party only has $10,000 or no insurance. And what do you do? Um, those are the equivalent of having someone in bankruptcy, where you're not going to be able to get any money from them. And so it's hard. Luckily, in trucking cases, you'll have the insurance policy, and that insurance policy at least will be some sort of compensation. It's never going to give you full justice, but at least it gives them some sort of compensation. So it's it happens in cases. Thankfully, it doesn't happen a lot. But when it does, you have that insurance policy. There's also something called the MCS 90, just in case the insurance company says, hey, we're not at fault, or there's no coverage here. You can look at an endorsement called the MCS 90, which will allow you to get, it's called public liability coverage, which picks up just in case the insurance company plays games. So you have some outs, and there's more. You have some outs if there is a bankruptcy in your case. Don't give up. Don't panic. Make sure your client doesn't panic, and just move forward. Again, seek that mentor, someone who's gone through the process.
So then, if your analogy to hitting someone, or being hit by someone who has no insurance or no money is a good one. Is there any, can you go after the insurance company for more than the policy limits, or is in that scenario, or is that not possible?
So, in a non bankruptcy scenario, if the insurance company, and every state is different, but if the insurance company doesn't tender, which is give you the money in a timely manner, every state again is different. Florida recently had some tort reform where they changed the laws to favor the insurance companies, which again, not fair, but we have to live with it. They've got the money, they've got the lobby power, and so we got to fight them. But in every state, it's a little different. But you're given a certain, and some states don't have what they call bad faith um, statutes. Here we do in Florida, and I know other states too, where if they don't pay you the money in a timely manner, and that timely manner could be 90 days from the day they get sufficient evidence, then you're no longer limited to the amount of the insurance policy. So if, let's say, you have $100,000 in insurance, but you have a $2 million valued claim that everyone would say this is worth $2 million or more, and the insurance company doesn't pay that $100,000 within that 90-day period in Florida, then you can say, and you've given them all the evidence, then you can say, well, you had a chance to pay, you didn't pay, everyone else would have paid. Now you're on the hook for the entire amount.
Oh,
So
wow.
yeah, and that's kind of the equalizer that we still have in Florida. as they continue to strip away people's rights. But we still have that equalizer. And look, hopefully the insurance companies will do the right thing and not put the client through the torture of litigation, the torture of getting deposed and then going to a trial and then an appeal and then a bad faith case. So those are all things that take time. So hopefully they do the right thing. Most of the time they don't do the right thing. And so that's why you need a lawyer that knows what they're doing.
But if they do pay that 100,000, you can't go after them for more than?
If they pay during that statutory period where they have to pay, during that 90-day period. If they pay a year later, we wouldn't accept the money, and we would tell our client, look, they should have paid you earlier. They made you go through all this. This is wrong that they did that. You should go to trial, and let's get our verdict, and let's go collect from the insurance company. So, of course, the person can't take the 100, but we're going to give the insurance companies the opportunities to do the right thing and pay our clients. It's up to them to do the right thing. So we're going to give them that chance. Then it's up to them.
Yeah, understood. All right. Well, thanks for tuning in to Road to Recovery, Advocacy and Insights for Trucking Accidents with Sagi Shaked. For more information or to connect with Sagi and his team, visit shakedlaw.com. And don't forget to subscribe to our channel and leave us a review. We really appreciate it. Sagi, it's always great having you here. Thanks so much for everything.
Thanks for having me again.
Thanks for watching. Be sure to hit that like and subscribe button and leave us a review in the comments.